Welcome to the Rocket Roof Show, where we equip fellow roofers to do more commercial business every first and third Thursday of the month. It's time to launch your business to the next level.
This is Project Command. Stand by at power transfer.
3, 2, 1, blast off!
Hey, welcome back to another episode of the Rocket Roof Show. Thank you for joining us again. Your host, Andy Neer. I own Empire Roofing Contractors in Michigan, but I also like to run this fun podcast here where we equip and educate roofing contractors for the commercial roofing industry. And today I have Tim Brown from the Hook Agency. Welcome, Tim.
What's up?
How we doing?
I'm doing very well, man. It's I'm kind of revved up after RoofCon.
Yeah, we were just talking before we got on here that he's seen my shirt here and he's like, what, you were at RoofCon? And I'm like, yeah, man, I had a booth there and he had a booth there, but you know, there was like 2,900 people there. So him and I never actually connected. I think I probably walked by his booth 2 or 3 times, but you know, when you're there with a booth or, you know, everybody's like everybody else, right? At a convention, like you're like, I don't want to be sold nothing. So you walk by a table and
Yeah, no, that too. Yep.
I get it. You know, I'm on the other side of the table too. So I know what it feels like when I go to somebody else's table and I'm like, you know what? I already got a preconceived notion whether I need marketing or not. So I'm not talking to that dude. So, but totally. Shout out to RoofCon. I mean, they had some pretty sweet swag. I mean, they had probably 8 or 10 different shirt designs. They had quite a few sweet hat designs. They were giving stuff away left and right. And the whole premise behind RoofCon with the leadership and legacy minded focus was just awesome. You come away from a conference, sometimes you just come away motivated, but this one, I think really we came away with impact. And they didn't just have 1 or 2 good keynote speakers. They had a whole lineup of, I don't know about you, this is my personal opinion, even though John Maxwell was the keynote headliner, I feel like all the other guys, I got more out of them than Maxwell. I love Maxwell, but I felt like his speech was kind of like I'd already heard it all before. For me, anyways. Yeah,
I was kind of telling someone before that, like, I love Maxwell, but it's also like what his main messages, he's already proliferated those out in the world over the last 20, 30 years. And they're kind of commonplace at this point. Yeah. If you can make your ideas, like big ideas, commonplace, you did a good job. But yeah, we've heard a lot of the Maxwell stuff before. I read his books and stuff like that. So yeah, it's hard to say that much more new, but yeah, he's awesome. But yes, there's some other awesome guys there too.
But I got a lot out of the Iron Cowboy, probably impacted me the most, along with Ed Milet. And so, yeah, I can't wait to see what they're going to have next year. So it'll be hard to top this year, but I'm super excited.
It's going to get better and better, I think.
Yeah,
I think so that the way that the people that run that, really the way that they do it, the mindset, they're like, this is for you guys. We're going to make it as good as we possibly can and keep on getting feedback. I think that basically I just didn't see that from any of the other roofing conferences. I went to 3 and I didn't see that. So like, you know, they're living off of the legacy that they have the last 10 years. Like, I mean, no offense. I think IRE is the next best one, but then I'm not going to talk smack, but yeah, Western Roofing Conference was.
And they're different, right? Like they all have a different objective, and I'm not, you know, you can probably get value out of all of them because they're different, but, yeah,
there's more like, there's manufacturers and stuff at some of the other ones. Like there wasn't a ton of manufacturers here. That was interesting, but.
Right. So the reason I brought Tim on today is we are going to talk about what many roofers might think of as boring or maybe not even useful, but we're going to talk about blogging today, and we're going to explain to you why it actually is important and crucial for you as a roofing contractor to be doing blogging, if not for the only reason that probably 98% of the other roofing contractors that are your competitors are not doing blogging. And that's why you should be, to help you get, like you just said, proliferate, get yourself out in the space and be perceived as an expert. And so we're going to dive deep into blogging.
I'll even venture to say this, I'll talk to you about blogging strategies that will make you money and how they will make you money. So you can question me on that, and don't let me get off with the soft marketer answer either.
Yeah, we'll give you a money back guarantee even. I mean, if you're not happy at the end of this episode, we'll give you all the money back you invested into this program.
Yes.
So let's start off with the very basic question is, what is a blog?
Yeah. A blog is basically just a piece of writing on your website somewhere. That usually blogging is a little bit more about like answering a question, or it's a list, or it's a how-to type of piece of content. And sometimes people call it different things. They call it learn on their website. They call it news on their website. Most common is they call it blog on their website, and they have it in the header, and you can go there and you can look at a list. It's like articles. And there's different ways to do it. Some of the ways people do it won't make you money whatsoever and will not actually get you any traffic on your website whatsoever. So it's not that any blogging whatsoever is going to make you money. It's particular types of blogging will make you money.
Sure. So, and then we're not going to talk about it today, but there's actually where you add video, and it's called a vlog. So if you're not familiar with that, I mean, it's a similar same thing, but vlogs have become pretty popular. But there's a lot of roofers that are they're camera shy, or they don't have time to get the camera equipment. But everybody has a computer or a smartphone where you can actually do a blog. It's not difficult.
Absolutely.
So,
but you would ask me before the show.
Go ahead.
Sorry, go ahead.
I think we got a little bit of a delay, but go ahead.
Excuse me. So you'd asked before the show, you said, well, who does this? Who does the blogging? These guys are not interested in another to-do list item, especially one with seemingly low return, especially towards the beginning of the process. Then, why would they blog? So I'm not actually asking you as an individual to blog, unless potentially you're a marketing manager at a roofing company. It's certainly something where you can have a marketing assistant do it. You can outsource it. There's a lot of options for how to get blogging done. But the question here is, does it make you money, or how could it make you money, and what type of blogging would make you money? And we're going to talk about, how to make blog posts that people are actually searching for, how to create titles of blog posts in a way that are sticky, and, third, how to format a blog so it actually kind of addicts you to the content. You actually want to read it. And then, throughout that, I'll talk about how this makes you money and basically that type of thing. But the point is you don't have to be the one to do it. Now, if you were a new roofing company owner, let's say you're going from, you're just starting up to 500K or something, this could be something where you would actually want to do it in your free time. I certainly did, it's different because I'm a marketing company, but I did blogging for myself. I wrote 500 blog posts. I'm not telling you to do that, but I'm saying I wrote 500 blog posts for us. And this is how I have a company today, and how it's grown a little bit more quickly than if I had just relied on paid advertising. Because essentially, and I'll do the how it makes you money thing. It's a funnel, sales funnel, where you've got the top side of the sales funnel is awareness. And then down at the very bottom of the funnel, which is, sale, right? So all the way from awareness to sale, you can be answering questions in that process. Like what are people asking before they actually know that they need a roofing company, right? How do I choose a roofing company? So that's a little bit further down the funnel, all the way to best roofing company near me. Those are the types of topics, and you can make a list. That would be a blog post for the best roofing companies near me, best roofing company near Houston, like you top 10, you could make that list. Otherwise, Home Advisor and Angie are going to make it. So let's make the list ourselves and put it on our website.
So you said, not everybody has to do it. If you're the business owner, or maybe you're a sales manager, you might be too busy, but it also boils down to if you enjoy it. Like, I'm the business owner, I'm only the salesman, but I actually enjoy writing blog posts. Now, sometimes that's hard to find the time, but if I make the time, it's relatively easy for me to write a blog post. Also, because I've got 20 years of experience, it's probably a little bit easier for me to spout off a blog post on the importance of drain cleaning or maintenance.
Yeah.
If you don't like it, then yeah, it's probably good to delegate it out. But if you like it, you may want to give it a try.
And or both.
Yeah.
Because I write too still as the owner of the company, and I can do a little bit deeper kind of, specific content that's like strategic and like challenges the industry a little bit.
Yep.
But then like I've got other people writing kind of the little bit more basic stuff, like just to keep it churning and keep the drip going. So even if I don't get to that blog post that week that I wanted to do, that was going to upheave the entire industry or whatever I think is going on, then that drip is going out and hitting no matter what every week.
So we're going to dive into it now. What are the elements of a good blog?
Yes. So the first thing we need to do is make sure that your blog posts are about a topic people actually want with keyword research, because I could write about things that I want to write about all the time. And essentially they go out in the ether. And then unfortunately, like if I'm going to spend an hour or two writing a blog post, it doesn't take me much longer than that now, because I've done it a lot. But if I'm going to spend that time, or even if you're going to have like your admin or your marketing assistant do that, it's a lot of time. It's time is money, right? So let's make sure that it's about a topic that people actually want. I want Google traffic from this thing, because Google is a beast. Google is still the #1 lead generation platform, in my opinion, for roofers. So a couple tips on this: post in clusters and not just one-offs. So let's say, what was the topic that you said earlier?
Rooftop maintenance or drain maintenance.
Yeah, roof maintenance. So for instance, you could say roof maintenance is a bucket, and I'm going to hit roof maintenance from different angles for the next couple months.
Yeah.
And essentially you get more benefit out of stuff when you have like 5 articles about that, or one giant article that you've slowly built over time, the ultimate guide to roof maintenance. But basically this idea of clusters of topics, not just one-offs. Another thing to do is to use a tool like Arefs, ahrefs.com, or SEMrush, semrush.com. And that just got added to the stock market. So that's a big company now, SEMrush.
What's the first one?
You can use them to, what's that?
What was the first one?
The first one is Arefs, ahrefs.com. And it's a $7 trial for 7 days. I'm not a shill for them. I actually love the tool. It's very cool. Even if you just go in there and put your top 5 competitors in there, and then write down all the things that they're ranking for that you might want to rank for, or might want to create a blog post or a landing page on your website or whatever. A landing page is just like, it's like another homepage just about a specific topic. So those tools to spy on competitors, as well as just like, sometimes I have an idea and I'll put that idea in Google, right? I'll be like downspout maintenance or whatever. I'll pop that into Google. I'll find the top article. I'll take that article and I'll put it in one of those tools, and then I'll see what it really ranks for, that people are really searching the most. And I'll use that keyword, that topic, as the main topic now, because I'm essentially basically looking at demand. What's the demand for this content? And, like, hey, I love roofing because there's demand, like as a marketing agency that only works with roofers, basically this idea of demand, right? Like, I like something with the pre-existing demand. I've worked for startups and stuff like that before, and it's annoying because you're like, dude, do people want this thing? The different things that we've worked for that you're like, damn, like, or do we have to create demand? And with content, you don't want to have to create demand. It's like, it's very hard to get people to that blog post if no one was asking that question in the first place.
Right.
So these tools will help you do that. Another one is Surfer SEO. Actually, that one probably goes into one of my next ones, which is about how to write the content. So I'll actually talk about Surfer SEO in a little bit.
Okay.
Last couple of things, hey, I love the best of lists with your competitors in them.
Yep.
Damn. Because your best competitors. Don't put the shitty ones in there.
So
I'm
gonna push your buttons a little bit. Was that
do it? Let's go.
Was that pre-Marcus Sheridan, or was that Marcus Sheridan that thought of that? They Ask You Answer book?
Yeah. And actually, I was just about to mention his book. I have never read it, just to be honest with you. I just know it's basically exactly what we preach. Everyone tells me that that's exactly like the stuff that I've been talking about for 5 years. He had in that book. To be honest, I don't think he he could have written that book before 5 years ago. I don't know, but I've been doing this for a while too. It's just great minds think alike. I think Marcus Sheridan is awesome. I haven't read his book, but if he says this type of stuff, he's a smart guy.
Yep.
And also go after referral partner lists as well. I don't know if he says this one, maybe he does, but like, hey, if you're a roofer, go after 10 best landscapers. Do that list on your site. Why? Because, hey, that facilitates conversations between you and those landscapers. That, hey, maybe you don't do soft washing, or maybe you don't do gutters. I know you do gutters, but you know what I'm saying? Like whatever you don't do that's around the exterior of the home.
Yeah.
Do lists around that stuff, because, hey, now they're Googling, they're Googling themselves too. They're Googling lists in their area too. Be the list. Let them talk to you. Tell them why they should be the number one on your list, because they send you referrals,
Right.
And then I was going to mention that book on my list here. Read They Ask You Answer. What questions are your salespeople getting often? Like I think about, I talk to, we have the weekly sales meeting. What are people asking? What have people asked 2 or 3 times in the last month? That's a great blog post too. That's demand as well. We don't need fancy nerd tools like these keyword tools to know if people are asking these questions. That's probably a good thing to answer those questions on our blogs. And like you said, also our videos, all that stuff.
Like maybe a common question is when a new product comes out in your market. I know coatings have been around a long time, but roof coatings in my area have just been starting to really be noticed by building owners in the last couple of years, especially since the material crunch in the last year has become a problem. Now more building owners are like, man, maybe I ought to look into this coating thing. So when I'm looking at a roof, they're asking me, can we do a roof coating? Of course, I've got to look to see if it's a good candidate. Maybe yes, maybe no, but that would be a question that maybe 2 years ago wasn't asked very much, and now it is.
Yep. And what do you want? What do you want? You want versus posts, right?
Right.
You want lists. You want bullet points. You want quickness. You want reviews, curate reviews. You can do that. We're all scared. We're scared of pissing somebody off. But if you're curating other people's reviews, that's you didn't say anything about them. You know what I mean? I think that there's an opportunity to do more of that, a little bit spicier content if you have a little bit higher risk tolerance. But I understand there's drawbacks to that as well. But roof coatings, you can do this roof coating versus that roof coating.
Yep. So back to your comment where you said, list your competitors, and then the one guy wants to be number one, obviously. Marcus Sheridan had mentioned in his book where he had listed his 5 competitors and what their good attributes were and everything. And he said he had one of his competitors actually call him and say, hey, dude, why didn't I make the list? Like, he wasn't even in the 5. And he's like, well, why did we make the list? We're a big dog in your area. And he's like, well, he said, it's just interesting that they would call me or email me to want to be on the list.
No joke. So we are the number one list. I mean, I'm not even going after local market anymore, but we're number one for Minneapolis marketing.
Mm-hmm.
And so I've had a bunch of people, they contact me and I'm like, I don't know. I don't even care about the local marketing more because we're just contractors.
Yeah.
But it's very interesting. And it kind of it's a cool thing. And it's kind of crazy. And you could be that. And maybe bigger markets, you can get these lists up higher than just your landing page or just your homepage a lot of times. So you got to experiment with it.
We want to thank Top Roof Contractors again for their continuing sponsorship of the Rocket Roof Show. Membership in this organization includes reduced rates for commercial roofing leads, third-party verification to add credibility to your company, and a host of valuable benefits upon acceptance into the network. Learn more about them at toproofcontractors.com.
So is that it for elements of a good blog? Do you have any more to add to that?
Yes. So, that's actually just the topics. So the next one is how to make your title good. And then the one after that is how to format it. So making your title good, spend a third of the time on the title.
So I know
Hey.
I'm coming from the roofer's perspective, and I'm listening to you.
Yep, let's go.
So
Yep.
you're using words like format, and sometimes marketers talk like marketers. So we got to dumb it down a little bit for us roofers. And it's not as complicated, guys, as what it sounds like. So I would encourage you, if you're like, man, I could write some good content down, but I don't know about all this formatting stuff and spell checking. And I would encourage you to find maybe a sister or a spouse or somebody in your family or that that would work with you, because you probably have the roofing knowledge in your head, but you're not a good speller, or you're not a good, like, where do I cut my paragraph off? I run, you don't want to do run-on sentences. In fact, before I got on the show today, I did a little Google search for what does Marcus, with the importance of blogging according to Marcus Sheridan, because that's the only person I knew. And I read a blog by some other guy about Marcus, right? And he pretty much just summed up his book in this. Down in the middle in a paragraph, I found 2 errors that were actually very important to what the meaning of the sentence was. He left a letter out of one word. In fact, I might even be able to look at it real quick while I'm talking here. I didn't mean to do this, but there was a word that he used that he left one letter out of the word. Oh, right here. To use the dentistry example again, people might search for problems with wisdom tool removal. He meant to say wisdom tooth removal, but instead of tooth, it said tool. Simple spell check, or simple checking your spelling. And then right after that, it says, because your solution might always be the right solution for them. Well, that wouldn't make the sentence make sense. It was supposed to say, because your solution might not always be the right solution for them. So, like I said, anybody can, this is probably a guy that's just throwing blogs out, right? He probably has a quota to meet 6 blogs a day or something. But even people that are doing this every day, all the time, professionals, are going to make mistakes. So I would say, don't worry about making a mistake here and there. If people point it out, just go in and correct it, but don't let that scare you.
That's a really great point. And I think part of it is try to provide value. Don't worry about making it perfect. So as long as and some people think value is a soft word. I disagree. If you fucking put a roof on somebody's house, that's valuable. If you help somebody get more business, that's valuable. If you close a deal, that's value. I don't think it's a soft thing at all. I think, if you create a blog post that instructs somebody how to take an action and it positively affects their day, that's value. So you don't have to have perfect grammar to provide value. And I do think there's a little add-on to the Chrome browser that's called Grammarly that will check your spelling for you, which I think that would be a great tool. But like you said, it doesn't have to be you. It could be somebody that you know. So the second thing is spend a third of your time on the title, make it clicky with numbers, powerful words, and a big promise. Obviously you want to deliver on that promise, but if you can say, if you read this blog post, you'll know how to choose the best gutters for your house, right? If you kind of give that and then try to deliver on that, I think, but really spend a good amount of time on the title and make it sticky and clicky and all that and 7 is the best number, right? Like there's a lot of things you can do, but there's a lot of like if you use numbers in the blog post, it helps.
You ever do anything in the title that's like controversial or appears to be
controversial, but really what we want to capture their attention and promise value. I think, you know what? I did a video with Adam Sand. Do you know Adam Sand?
Yeah. I'm actually going to have him on my podcast next.
Really nice. Yeah. He's, I did a video with him at RoofCon, and it was like about the time he got arrested from posting on Facebook. So you have to check that out. And so, yes, I do like controversial. And I think it's a little bit better on video, I think, sometimes than a blog post, because, no one's Googling the controversial thing. So I think it's a little bit more of a social media play. Unless you're writing a topic, right? A current current trending topic, that works too. But
Let's
capture their
just
attention.
say you're a TPO guy and you've been blogging. Can people kind of know you're the TPO guy? But then if you do one that has a title that says, absolutely don't do TPO unless you do this first. And it's like, people are like, whoa, well, what's he talking about now? I thought he was a TPO guy.
I love stuff like that for sure. And I think like just using words like free, new, instantly, you, the word you is great, right? You.
Yeah.
Why, guide, using things like brackets, words like download, guide, using the current year, etc. can help. Like I said, you could start with a number, 7 ways to, you guys see this stuff. So just, it does work. It actually increases the click-through rate, which helps that blog post rise.
Is there a number you don't go below or go over? Obviously you're not going to do 2 topics about blah, blah, blah.
Yeah. I would say 4 to 19, and that's just totally arbitrary. Those are the numbers I stick in between. I just want a manageable list. If I'm a user looking through the list of, if I'm just a random person on Google, I'm just looking for like a quick nugget of value, right? I'm looking through the list. I'm like, okay, if it's like 108 ways to save money on my next exterior remodel, I'm not going to read 108 ways. Boil it down. Sometimes longer.
The only thing people want to see 108 things of is girls in bikinis.
Yeah, exactly. So unless that's
anything else.
Hey, so make a promise, like I said, and follow through. Hey, will these predictions help me in a specific way? Will they help me grow my traffic, my conversions? Like if I'm with a Google marketing company or for a roofer, like, is it going to help me save money? Is it going to help me make my process more painless? What are their pain points? How is this going to help solve them? Use that in the title. And then use keyword for Google stuff, use the keyword towards the beginning of the post. So that's a hard thing to manage, but that's the ideal. So that's kind of on the topic of titles.
Okay. So we're still on the elements of a good blog. Is that everything there, you think?
No, I still got one more main thing, which is spend another third of your time on the first paragraph on bullet points and formatting to make the article easy to scan and emotionally addicting. I'll start off with a really good, the best tip I know, which is keep an open loop. An open loop means like somebody was doing stuff on modern homes recently on our writers. And later in the blog post, they talk about how there's some modern homes that don't even show the front door. It's like literally hidden in the house, which I think is really cool. And I said, allude to that in the first paragraph that something like that is coming, but don't tell them exactly what it is, so that so a main feature of the house on modern homes can actually be completely hidden. But we'll cover that and other amazing amazing facts about modern homes in this article. Now you want to read it, right? Because you're like, what? There's going to be a major piece of the home that's completely hidden. That sounds interesting. So keep open loops. Anything that's a hook towards the beginning of the content. Ask a provocative question. Talk about things that they might think the answer is, but that it's not. So an example might be, hey, you might think that blogging is a soft skill. You might think that there's no science behind writing. You don't even have to tell them at the end that they're wrong, but you just put you may think. That's persuasive because you're right. I did think there's no science to it. I did think it was a very soft thing. Right.
I was going to ask that question, maybe you're going to cover this, but like exposing myths or exposing preconceived notions that people have about.
Oh, I love that. I love the idea of exposing myths and using that in the title too. Challenging the reader. So, a study was done of top salespeople. So I believe blogs and content on your website can just be like a sales conversation in a way. I mean, like sales to me these days is about education.
Yeah.
So I believe in as well about challenging my prospect. If I have a prospect in front of me, and I do some sales as well. So this book is called The Challenger Sale. And the idea is that there's different kinds of salespeople. There's the relationship person, there's, the networker, there's all these different types of salespeople, but the one that sells the absolute best is the person who challenges people, who doesn't say, I'm going to bend my pitch to the person every time. They say, I know what you need and I'm going to challenge you. I actually know your questions before you ask them. I'm not going to ask 50 questions. I know that the common thing a lot of salespeople say is ask 50 questions and just figure out everything about them. And there's different kinds of sales, obviously. I definitely believe in connecting emotionally and stuff like that, but challenging them. If you really think it's going to make their life better to do it this way, show them how to do it better than they were doing it before. And the reason I think that it cites as why, this is a great book, by the way, Challenger Sale. So good.
What is it called? Challenger Sale?
So good. Yeah. If there's, you know what, I'll even put that one above, they ask you answer in my suggestions here.
Okay.
But basically the reason they believe that works is because if you really do succeed in changing someone's perspective, if they thought that a roof was just a nice to have, and now you've basically you've changed their mind to really, they think it's an investment that's going to increase the resale value of their home and make their neighbors jealous, then, and you own that idea, even if they go price shop, they kind of stuck thinking about you.
Right.
Like that guy really seemed like they wanted the best for me, and he changed my mind about what a roof is. Like he changed, and whatever you're trying to change the mind of the prospect. If you really succeed in owning a new idea in their head, then they're stuck thinking about you. So I think that was a really important point from my point of view as far as how to sell. And I think it applies to content. So you want to, challenge the reader every single blog post and say, this is how to think of it a little bit differently, not just write the same blog post that everybody else has.
And I know sometimes roofers get sales and marketing like clouded up a little bit, even though they're two separate steps of the process. But it's almost like, volleyball, you're setting up for the spike, right?
Yeah.
The person doing the sale has to be set up properly with the marketing, because if they don't blend, the sales guy goes in there and talks about something completely different set up than the marketing department did. So like you're saying, it's got to flow evenly so that it's an easy spike.
Exactly. That's so good. In general, blog posts should be very soft on the sales side, but the last two paragraphs are fair game. So I think the last couple of paragraphs, you can challenge them and maybe emotionally hook them. Like I call them emotional hook points. Can you tell a little story about what could happen if you do decide to work with the company, or if you decide not to work from the company? Could you share a little happy customer story? Like, we've seen this work because this awesome homeowner made a smart decision to challenge their insurance company about their exterior remodel and get a better product, or whatever it happens.
Or a disaster because they didn't do this thing.
Yep. They actually ended up having to replace it after 10 years, but they'll never do that again because they're committed to having the best shingles, and all the different things that you could do. You can do that in the last two paragraphs. Don't sell them the whole blog post. Otherwise, people will not read it. And then your blog has, it's basically like, almost think of it like a reputation. If you're this guy that every time you go up to him at a party, he like starts selling you Cutco knives or whatever, I don't care. I mean, shit. Basically, if every time somebody comes up to you at the party, you're selling them your wares, they're probably not going to come around that often. But if you told them, hey, you know what? I'll give you 3 tips on how to like make sure your roof lasts longer. Yeah. Like, they're not mad at you. Like, maybe they won't listen that long, let's be honest, but they will, like, they'd come away with a better taste in their mouth than if you were selling. So the point is like blog is a very soft sell, but then, those emotional hook points and kind of challenging them at the end of a blog post is a great way to do this. And if you want, I like to go back through after I've written a blog post. I think if you're already blogging, the one thing I want you to take from this maybe is just go through it one more time before you post and boil the main points from your paragraphs into the headlines after you're done. So make sure someone can scan the article, just the headlines and maybe bullet points, but get the main data, the main info. Make sure they can get the bulk of the info and add images and videos to break up the text. So it's basically just going through it one last time, trying to make it really easy to consume and adding some videos and photos. You know, funny little tiny story. We've had a lot of business from, you know, obviously this one strategy. Sorry, it's a little bit different than if it was a roofing company, but I added a video from a roofing influencer to one of my blog posts about Home Advisor and how Home Advisor's leads are shared and kind of shitty and maybe people don't like them. Sorry. And now Angie.com. Sorry, I'm talking shit out here.
Yeah.
But you know, that roofing influencer saw all the traffic that was coming from people watching his video on our blog post, because you can see that in YouTube analytics, and like connected with us, became a client, and has since sent us like 70 leads. Crazy enough. Like, so like, you don't have to make the video be your video. You can use other people's videos in your blog and they're not going to be mad about it. They're going to send you 70 leads. No, just kidding. I don't know if that would happen, but basically just the point of include other relevant videos or pieces of content on your thing.
Or external links. Like what if they're just external links?
Yes. I think the one strategy on that I'd say is definitely link out to authoritative sources. So don't link to your cousin's, rodent removal company. Link to Inc. or Forbes, because basically or like a high authority roofing blog, because essentially,
for example, we do a lot of spray foam, and a lot of people are like, oh, spray foam is crap, spray foam garbage. Well, a lot of times I'll put a link in there that talks about the Texas A&M study where they did a huge, thorough study on spray foam and put it on multiple buildings, and it's like that. That's a very profound study from a good source.
And ideally, like if you can, like one last like next level thing that I love. Okay. Graphs and statistics.
Oh yeah.
So I'll do like just straight up, like just a bullet pointed list of statistics for like different specific things. So if you did spray foam statistics, because then people will cite your blog and link back to it. And that's linking is a big piece to getting higher on Google too. So if you did a bunch of spray foam statistics and graphs, other roofers are going to link to you and make your website look really important.
Yeah.
So to Google's algorithm. So I love statistics and graphs in blog posts, as their own blog posts, all kinds of stuff. I love that stuff.
Moving on, we're running out of time here. I don't know, maybe you already touched on this. How long should a blog be? Is there a minimum or
long enough to
minimum or too much?
Yeah, I think a minimum is probably about like 400 words. I think a good medium is probably like 800 words. And too much, I don't think you can really do too much if it's all actually valuable content. I think mostly you should focus on answering the question, answering a few more questions related to that. If somebody was to search, we just really think about what's the intent of this search. If I was to Google this, what would I want? And do that and do a little bit more. And then you should be good. Just don't go under like, 400, 500, maybe 500 is a good kind of just.
So when somebody's writing in a word processor or something like that, or typically I do it in Pages, but I never see a word count. Is there a certain thing you can use so that you can see? Because obviously word count isn't like every word you count it, because of letter A or, certain words are gonna have different amount of numbers.
Usually it's under tools. It's under tools on Word or Pages. There's just a little spot at the top that says tools, and then you can drop it down and it will say, show word count. I use Google Docs a lot. So yeah, basically just there's usually something under settings. You might have to hunt for it a little bit.
Okay.
And then WordPress, which I blog a lot on WordPress, it shows at the bottom of the text editor.
Now, this might not be the most professional way to do it, but you can blog inside LinkedIn, right?
Sure. I love LinkedIn. I also think you should put that on your blog as well. I do that. Sometimes I'll do what's that?
Just copy and paste.
Yeah, you can do that because basically on social, I personally think, and it's just like an opinion, I think you should put it on your blog first and then put it on LinkedIn, like, so the original, but you really don't have the same problem. You don't want to do copy paste from another website to your website, but social media is a different animal. So just because it's on social media doesn't mean Google is going to count it your blog as duplicate content. You want to watch out for duplicate content.
Yeah.
So don't just copy paste from the internet, but you can, if it's your content, copy and paste from like a social network only, Facebook, LinkedIn, etc., onto your blog. That's fine.
Okay. So how do you decide what is a good topic?
You got to make sure that there's some volume for it. So I said, look at Arefs and SEMrush. I think ideally, if it's something you believe people are searching, put it into one of those tools or try to find how many people are searching it. Those tools will tell you, I think a good minimum is like 100 people searching it at least a month to actually justify writing a piece of content. There's also on Arefs, there's a little thing that's called keyword difficulty. If the keyword difficulty is past like 20, it's going to be really hard to rank for it because a lot of other people have already done this and a lot of other big websites are already trying to rank for it. So it's a mixture of trying to find something that people really want, but your first couple ideas usually are like things a lot of people have already come up with. So it's kind of a learned skill, but it's a worthwhile learned skill because these things really do make you money and most roofers aren't doing them.
So to boil it down, what you're talking about here is you get on Arefs or SEMrush and it tells you the most common questions in that industry or that product, or like, is that correct?
Yeah. And
so somebody's looking for roofing repair
yeah.
in Grand Rapids, Michigan.
Yeah. You could type that in and see how many people are searching it. There are exceptions and it's hard to kind of go through every little exception, but I will say, like, if you know for a fact people are searching that, the tool is only so accurate. So you, like, for instance, like I know in Minnesota, like people are looking for things in Minnetonka because it's a really like it's a high value, if you could rank for Minnetonka home builder, like, or what, or something, Minnetonka roofer or something like that, it's going to be highly lucrative, and so sometimes the tool doesn't show that. It'll say like 30 searches a month, and sometimes at that lower amount it gets a little less accurate. So like I generally think of it as like, if you have a strong understanding of your area, sometimes you have to trust yourself and go after things that, or, on the other side, sometimes I've written about things that I wanted that piece of content and the keyword tool, or I didn't know exactly that there was a lot of volume for the thing, but after I wrote it, there was a lot of traffic and it was a good instinct. I wanted that piece of content. I Googled and it wasn't there. So I made it. Right. And it showed me later that people did want it. So that's another way to kind of, it's not all data. Some of it's a little bit of creativity and trusting your gut.
Like, so for example, maybe a lot of people are already researching roof coatings and maybe I look up the mill thickness on roof coatings and maybe it's like, okay, nobody's asking about that or talking about that. So I can start creating a question around that.
Exactly. And sometimes it's like, am I helping my competitors with this? But it's like, if you want to make there's something in SEO, search engine optimization, called domain authority. We're getting technical, but it's towards the end. So it's kind of like, fine, domain authority. And you essentially are increasing if you're creating something that people want, even if it's not your exact ideal customer, you're increasing the amount of traffic on your website and the amount of authority on your website through this type of content. So sometimes I'll blog about something that even like a competitor or newer marketing agency guy would want. And you could do the same for newer roofing people and stuff like that. You're creating authority on your site. You're making Google like your site. Like I said, with the statistics and graphs, you're getting links to your website. And thus it makes it more likely that you're going to rank for other things that have a higher likelihood of turning into sales.
So that leads me to a question. I wrote it down early on in the conversation. I actually read this in Russell Brunson's book, Expert Secrets, I think is what it's called.
I've got .com secrets back here. Nice.
His first book was called Expert Secrets. And he basically talked about, he was making a potato gun. And, he's like, I wasn't a potato gun expert or any kind of expert or anything, but because he blogged about it, he wrote about it, people perceived him as an expert. And so there's something about perception in a space where, maybe you only got 3 years of experience in roofing and all your competitors have over 20. But if you're the one that's constantly blogging and in people's face and is there when they're asking questions, you will be perceived as an expert.
Yep.
Can you expound on that a little bit? Can you expound on that a little bit?
Yeah. I mean, it's the most visible, right? That people, assume is better, to be honest with you. So if you're coming up for all these questions that a prospect has, or these lists in your area, or these different things, people assume that you're the authority, that you're the one. So, if that makes you mad because you're a roofer that's been around for 20 years and you're kind of annoyed at these young guns that that are ranking high on Google, I mean, get mad. You should fix it. And but it really comes down to, as a consumer, we assume the first page is where it's at. It's not the third page. We're not going to go to the third page because of we saw, maybe if we saw your trucks everywhere, maybe, and we're like thinking about it, but like,
I can't remember the last time I went to the third page.
Yeah, exactly. So you got to kind of, it might make you sad, but you should definitely Google your city name, your city plus roofer, and see where you're at, or your city plus roofing. Just see where you're at, and just.
Now, when you do that, doesn't it a better way to check it is if you're not in your own city, or if you're actually using somebody else's phone, not in your own city?
Or just turn it on Chrome. You can say new incognito window. It's file, new incognito window, and it will take out the personalization.
Oh, okay.
And it will allow you to see what it looks like for other people in your area. Good to know. I do that all the time. I'm always in incognito mode Googling stuff. And I think, hey, if you want to get higher on Google, and I think it's very worthwhile, sometimes one of the best things to do is just, if you're doing stuff around this, is to get in incognito mode and just Google more, Google stuff, Google different things. Okay. It's a good way to kind of just see, and a lot of people haven't done it in a while. So it kind of helps you see where you're at.
So we're coming up here on an hour, and I want to ask a couple more questions.
Sure.
What advice would you give a commercial roofing contractor who wants to do it yourself? So like, I think some people are like, well, I'm not going to do it very well. All these reasons why they don't want to do it. It's too complicated. But even if they do like just some simple 4-paragraph blogs, better than nothing. Give me some pointers that maybe a guy just wants to start on his own. What would he use? Would he use WordPress, or would he just use LinkedIn? Or
I would definitely say WordPress would be a great option. You can get a commercial theme from like themeforest.com. You could upload that. You can have a college kid help you. You can do all kinds of stuff. And then it is creating content. So answering those questions that you've got in the sales process. And then also, I think creating pages on your website for, like, let's say commercial roof repair, creating pages for the different buckets of service, and actually kind of splitting it out a little bit based on what you think people would Google. And then just, you're right, making at least 4 paragraphs of content and a couple images, and putting a form on there and saying, get a hold of us. So really just starting just starting and making sure that you're not, just because how do you eat an elephant one bite at a time? Just making sure that you start and you're moving towards it. You don't have to go hire an expensive marketing agency. You don't have to hire a new marketing person in your company, but you really should kind of break it down a little bit by steps. And even if there's 100 steps, make sure you're taking one this next month, making sure you're taking two the month after that. Cause all of us started that way on this content marketing stuff. And it really does matter long-term. I don't think Google's going away anytime soon.
So let me add a little bit of tip here. I don't drop gold very often, but I'll drop some gold here because Tim's the blogging expert. But I've been doing roofing for quite a while. For me to come up with new content, because I know sometimes you're like, oh, I'll write 5 blogs, and all of a sudden you're like, dang, what do I write now? I'm not very creative. I can't come up with anything more. The best way to do it, I think, as a roofing contractor, people call you for leaks or for new roofs all the time. And the funny thing is, each customer has their own unique problem that you're going to address.
Yes.
One day you might be looking at a leaky gutter. The next day you might be looking at a compromised drain. The next day you might be looking at a mechanical unit. The next day you might be looking at metal that's rusting through. And so as a roofer, you tend to just take those for granted, like, yeah, they're just roof problems. But to the customers, they know absolutely nothing about a screw that the washer has failed. They know nothing about the rust that is forming on their metal roof. They know nothing about the seam that fell apart on their TPO. And so you need to be cognizant of, okay, is this what I'm looking at today? Yeah, it was a 5-minute repair, but is this a good article that is this a good opportunity to write an article on this problem that I can see? So,
love that.
And then that leads me to my next question for you, Tim, is it helpful? Because I like to do a lot of vlogs. I put them on YouTube, and
Yes, sir.
when I do a vlog or a live on Facebook, I tell my guys that I train, it's easy for new content. 3 steps.
Yeah.
What did the customer call me about? What did I find when I got there? And what's the solution I'm proposing? I can do that in 1 minute to 2-minute video. And and I always have new content because every new roof is a new problem. And so I can just kind of say, hey, we're looking at a clogged drain today, and this is what I found. This is what they called me for, but actually what I found is this, and this is what we're going to propose. And I constantly have new content. But the question for you is that an opportunity to write a blog and then link my blog to my YouTube video, or mention it in my YouTube video? For more information, visit my blog?
I think embed the blog or embed the video on a blog and then summarize the key points. And if nothing else, like, you can use a transcription. And there are transcriptions tools, like I use Descript is one, and it just it transcribes the whole video for me, and I can just put that text and maybe fix any glaring errors. Or you can have like a writer. It's a lot easier for them to write that blog post because you got all the subject matter expertise from the video, and have them bullet point all the key information, or put, a full blog post together that's based on that video. I think that that's the ideal, because no one's going to usually read a transcription, but at very least for SEO, maybe you could do the transcription and embed the video on a blog post. And at the absolute ideal, have somebody write a blog article based on the video and just distill the main points.
Okay. Well, cool.
And that is valuable for SEO.
Cool. Well, I think we covered just about everything. If somebody wanted to reach out to you at the Hook Agency, give us a couple ways that they can reach out to you. Are you on Facebook, LinkedIn, social?
Yes, I'm on Facebook, but I've got kind of a generic name, so it's kind of hard to find me. But hookagency.com, Hook Agency all over social. I guess facebook.com/Hook Agency.
Okay.
And then just Tim Brown Hook Agency. I'm on Facebook and LinkedIn a lot. Like, I love LinkedIn. Okay. LinkedIn algorithm is great. And for commercial roofers in particular, you should be on LinkedIn and hustling.
Yeah. Sweet. Well, I really, really appreciate you being on today. I know you had a long weekend, as I did, over at RoofCon in Orlando. I just thank you for coming on and breaking down the blogging. And just for me to put a little tagline in the end, I mean, if you want to make more money and get more leads, you should start blogging. If you don't want to, then don't blog. But I'm sure your competitors will figure it out and they'll start doing it.
Boom. All right, Andy, thank you so much for your time, man. Thanks for having me on.
Have a good night.
All right, bye. Yep, see ya.
You've been listening to the Rocket Roof Show podcast. Be sure to subscribe through your favorite podcasting platforms such as iTunes or Google Play to get the latest episodes as they are launched. For more, please follow us on social media or visit our website at rocketroofshow.com. We look forward to joining you here again soon at the next launch.